Hi everyone, this is Tina with Dirt Therapy, and I just realized that we have not done a July garden tour. I am going to do that right now. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you what's going on. Most of our work in the garden is in the backyard, but I wanted to show you the front yard real quick. On a couple previous videos, we showed that we expanded our front porch area about 18 inches, and that has really opened it up to be able to have a sitting area here in the front and just enjoy. So I am really loving the way that it's turned out. It's a nice cozy place to sit. We have plenty of room to walk around now because it's made a huge difference. Now we do have this fountain here. My husband made it out of an old antique pump, and he fed the hose through it, and we have the barrel that catches all the water. In fact, I need to fill up the water a little bit more, but I think it is absolutely beautiful and it fits the aesthetic out here in the front. So we have a ranch style home. Feels more like a cottage feel to it than just a traditional ranch style home. It is old. It's a 1950s home, and we have done some serious renovations inside and outside, and you'll see a lot of the changes that we made when we head into the backyard. This is a very shady location. We have our locust tree that is above us here, so it has a large canopy. That's the reason why hostas work really well in the front yard, even though it's a southern exposure. Got heucheras here. I have some small yarrows. I have a agastache towards the back and a little baby that came off of it, which I've left. And then I took the hostas that were in the raised bed where the lions used to be when we did the expansion a few weeks ago. I placed the hostas in pots and a couple in the ground. They definitely look terrible, and that's only because of the issues that we had with the hail. Heading over this direction here, that is one of the lions that we removed, but it is super heavy and it needs a dolly for us to be able to move it. So we've just left it here for now, but it is going to go in our future Zen garden, which is in the backyard. Here you can see that we have another agastache, and it has the purple blooms that have started. It is a little bit earlier than normal. Everything has bloomed so much earlier this year than in years past. We've had a really mild winter. We've had a lot of rain, not extreme temperatures except for maybe one strong heat index wave. Humidity has been bad, but the temperatures are not getting as high. And then here is a bobo hydrangea. I've got a climbing rose in here. It's really old and it doesn't bloom anymore, and I need to really get in there and take it out, but it is a beast. You can see the brunneras here that flag the pathway, and they are just still beautiful. I have planted a shrub in this, and it's been in this pot for a few years. And the key is that we're in zone 5B to 6A, depending on what you really want to follow. I am still following the 5B because we just changed to 6A late fall last year, and I really am not trusting it totally yet. My approach is to go down two zones smaller. So if you're a zone 5, you'll have to make sure that the zone is a zone 3 and up. That way it can overwinter in a pot. It knows the cold temperatures will be fine. And this one has been in here for a couple years, and it is still doing fabulous. I think eventually I am going to have to move it out of this pot, but for now I am just loving it being there. I have a clematis coming up the archway, and that is since done. It blooms in early spring. I also had some daylilies. They're also done. I just planted this Shady hydrangea, and it's been drooping, but I think by next year it's really going to perk up. Now, before we go into the backyard area, I want to show you what's going on in our side yard. So I built this garden bed. Fall of 2022 is when I built this one. So it's only a couple years old. I'm going to get down to this end so I can really show you. This was built so we could kind of hide the retaining wall tubes. I mean, we can't totally hide them, but some of these things are going to get much taller and it'll eventually be able to start hiding these pipes. We've got some ornamental grasses. I've really filled this up with hibiscus and hydrangeas. So you'll see a lot of different hydrangeas in here. This one is a quick fire here. And then we have an Instakarma elderberry there in the back. And this is a new baby, but my goodness, look at the off branches. I'm gonna have to come in here and kind of clean it up, and so it can go more upright with all the rest of the canopy, because the rest of the canopy is down a lot further. The hibiscus is starting to bloom, and we had some irises that are already done for the season. I have some heucheras, and I have a lavender here. This is still pretty much filtered sun. It has morning sun and evening shade, so it is fine to be able to survive in this area. Got more hibiscus. We have this dry creek bed, so to speak. That way, when the water comes out of the tube, it hits the rain catch, and then it kind of flows it back this direction, so it can handle that, all of that water. My plum cherry tree. Can't wait for this to get a little bit taller. Now, we will be having somebody come in and up the tree just to make sure that it's not drooping down this far. I have some drutzias in here, but they have put on a lot of growth. They were a lot smaller. Just a couple short years ago, they were really small. We have the serendipity alliums that are getting ready to bloom, and then we have the hibiscus are full of blooms, and you can see some of them are coming up. Peonies and some more irises, another hibiscus. And the reason why I've done a lot of hibiscus is because this is a very moist area of the garden, just because you have the tubes, and each one of those connectors, they do leak water. And so what better thing to do than to add things that love water and that can absorb that water and use it. And hibiscus are perfect plant that loves the moisture. Got some more brunnera, and then I just planted one of the Caroline sweet potato vines in here, and it's really taken off. Really beautiful. I've also got a ginger plant here. I've got some echinacеas and more hydrangeas in here. I also planted some cosmos. I transplanted those from the garden that self-seeded themselves. And then I've got a hosta. And as we move in, and I'm sorry for the shower watering system, I do have to supplement with water because I do not have any type of sprinkler system or drip irrigation. Hopefully that will be on the agenda down the road, but we have too many other more expensive projects that we have to do, like the retaining wall on the west side of the house. That is something that we really have to put money into. And I desperately need a veggie garden, a fence around my veggies, because raccoons and groundhogs are munching on my harvest. So I'm not getting any zucchinis. I've only gotten a couple of them, and those are really important to me. So we have to work on that as well, putting up a 6-foot fence around there. Hibiscus are gorgeous. I absolutely love these ones. They're just showing off against the cone flowers there. Just beautiful. I really love that combination. I've got some more hostas, and I have some more shrubs. This is a tater tot. It's been here for 2 years, and it's gotten a little bit bigger, but I think it's a slow grower, so its full size is not showing yet. I also have more hibiscus. I'm getting ready to plant this up in another video. I had to replace the cocoa liners, so I am going to show you that on another video. And then I have a Japanese maple here and some more hostas. And then our fountain with lavender on either side, trying to keep the mosquitoes down as a natural repellent. We have the hosta and heuchera garden, and see, you can really tell the damage from the hail. Those heucheras are absolutely stunning. We'll look at that bobo hydrangea. I am just definitely partial to the bobos just because they are a little bit more compact. They're only supposed to get to be 3.5 feet tall, and it's almost as tall as me, and I'm 5'3". So I think that they're just really great performers here in our area. We've got the grapes that are growing up the pergola. I have some kind of rust issue though on one of the plants, so I'm not sure how many grapes we're gonna get, but I'm hopeful that we'll get some really good ones. I just put a purple fountain grass in here, and I have hostas planted underneath the bench, which is another video that I had done. And then I am still working on this area. I started this area yesterday, but because the mosquitoes were biting so much, I wasn't able to finish it. But I am going to come in here, weed it, put cardboard down, and then I'm going to mulch it back up and put a stepstone right in this section here so I can still get to my pot, which has tomatoes in it. So I take advantage of any pot that I can to put my extra tomatoes and stuff that I've seeded myself. And the reason is that is a very affordable way to fill up your pots without having to spend a ton of money on annuals. And you get the food production out of it. So that is part of the reason I do that. My Julia Child standard rose, I gave it a nice prune job and it is flushing out new blooms. So wow, I am really happy with it. It's really, really cute. And I was a little bit worried about it there for a hot minute just because it was looking really stressed with yellow, and it might have just been all the watering that we had had. So for example, if you see, there's a yellow one here, and it does have some bug stress on it as well. So I just need to come in and kind of spray it. But I was worried about it, but it's bounced back really nicely. I can't wait to be able to plant these gammas, these blue gammas. I believe that's the name of them. Just double check it. It is, yes, it's a blue gamma grass. And when we do the berm in the front yard, this is what we're going to put there. And I just think it's going to just really be an attention drawer from the traffic that's driving in the front yard. So as we move into the backyard, this is my primary flowers garden. And as you can see, it goes all the way back 145 feet. The garden beds at its shallowest point are 7 foot. So in this section here where I've got the serviceberry and the oak leaf hydrangea, and yes, some of those blooms are spent, but usually they are plate size. There's enough room in there for them to go. Here's a bluebeard, but I am going to relocate this. It is just kind of taken over, and I'm always having to trim it to keep it from going into the pathway. So I'm going to be moving that. I'm also going to move the fescue grass back a little bit further so it's not hanging over. I don't mind some hangover, but I don't want it fully hanging over, like all the plants hanging over. I just want to try to keep the path as clean as possible. I got one of those black-eyed Susan vines, and wow, it has taken over along with the bindweed. So we're not going to focus on that too much. You know, I can't control all of the bindweed. I have tried, trust me, but it's just not something that likes to be controlled, unfortunately. Here is another hibiscus, and this one I believe is also a white hibiscus. It is still a little bit behind, but the buds are coming, so we'll see some color really soon. Here is Coreopsis and a Spirit 2 hydrangea that is just about done for the season. There's still some little pink ones on there, but they start out pink, fade to a lighter color, and then they turn green. So this is almost done. The lemon coral sedum are looking fabulous in this pot, and I always use lemon corals in this particular spot because it is a cocoa liner where a lot of water will just kind of fall through it. And because lemon coral sedums don't need that much water, sorry, I have a lot of mosquitoes swarming me, and so I really do need to get my bug repellent on. That's the bad thing about having all of this water this year, is that it has really created a atmosphere for mosquitoes. The reason why I do have the lemon coral sedum in the pot is because of the drainage situation, and it doesn't need as much water as anything else would. I've got another agastache that has bumblebees on it. Moving into my lo and behold butterfly bush and some pink profusion salvias, along with the North Pole arborvitae. And I got to tell you the story about it. When I got these, they were in like a small quart container. I'll see if I can find a picture of what they look like early on. And it is unbelievable how much they've grown in just 3 years, because it is 3 years old at this point. I have some Chinese aster and some grasses, and then my limelight hydrangea there. It is gorgeous. It is probably about 5.5 feet right now. So it's really nice. That's probably the tallest part of our wall is here. So I'm hoping that it's going to get a little bit taller and it can kind of like hide a little bit more of the stuff that kind of isn't as pretty. I'll move this direction. Here is our courtyard with our gazebo. And so, yeah, you see hose all draped around, but that is, again, my watering system. We've got the Pinky Winky standard tree right here, along with some boxwoods and some heucheras. And I do have some geraniums in there as well, but they are kind of crowded out right now. I didn't want to cut this particular branch, which I would normally come in and trim that off. However, there has cardinal has been building a nest in there, and I don't know if you can see it, but building a nest in there, and so I didn't want to get too close to it. I haven't seen it in a couple weeks, so I don't know if it has abandoned that one, but I did read on cardinals that they will build multiple nests to make it look like the population is more. There's more cardinals out there, so they have different places to make it look like there's more for predatorial reasons, to keep predators away. So that might be just a faux nest that they built to make it look like it's more populated. We've got the Nepeta here, and some more of the pink profusion. I've got the red devil 9-bark, and it's doing really well. It bloomed really pretty in spring. I've got some more of the darker hibiscus, and I believe that this color is kind of like a fuchsia color. And just to kind of tell you that all of the hibiscus that you see are proven winners ones. So you could go and take a look on their website and see if you can find which ones they are. I don't know the names to all of them, and my apologies. I can tell you some of them, but I can't tell you all of them. I planted some rosemary because I just love to cook with rosemary, and these were a wonderful deal that I couldn't pass up. I did not grow them on my own. I can't take credit for that. The phlox back in the back are just absolutely beautiful, and I have those sprinkled throughout the garden bed. And then I have my ornamental peach tree that I just planted this year. The leather leaf viburnum probably needs no introduction. It is absolutely beautiful. The heads of the blooms are really flat, and it is so happy. In fact, this is in a pot. You can't tell, but back in 2021 when we had the retaining wall done, we had to move out some of the old plants that I wanted to keep in the garden. I wanted to put them back in, but they had to be removed so they could replace the wall. This happened to be one of the pieces that I had, and it was a really, really small baby at the time. I can probably find a picture of that as well. But when we redid the flower beds and put in the pathway, my husband put the border in, and we did the gravel pathway, which has poly underneath it, we decided, or at least I decided, that I didn't want to plant it back in the garden, but I would just leave it in its natural pot that I had it in. So here is the pot. It's a large metal pot that has holes in the bottom of it, so the drainage is really adequate, and it has taken off. It has to be almost 8-9 feet tall at this point. It's just beautiful. I love it. It was my favorite thing from the previous garden, and I'm glad that I was able to incorporate it in this one. Now, the reason why it's called leather leaf is because it does feel like leather. So that's where it gets its name. I just love it. I knew that it would be enough because the habit is 18 to 20 inches mounded. So it would fill in this pot perfectly. It is my favorite by far. I am definitely going to incorporate that plant back in my garden next year. We have a Weigela in the back, which is done for the season. It has like a fuchsia pink flowers. And although I'm not crazy about the fuchsia pink because it really doesn't coordinate with the salvias or the rise up days climbing roses that I got. In fact, they're getting ready to bloom, but they don't last long enough for me to be concerned with. There's a little bit of a clash during the spring, but then it all balances out. This is a red-twigged dogwood, and you wouldn't know it because it has severe chlorosis. These should be a lot darker leaved right now, but because of the chlorotic problems with it, it needs iron. I need to come out here and give it some iron, which I have in the house, and I've been meaning to do it because I've noticed it for a while that it was turning this color, and I haven't done anything about it. So I definitely need to get out here because it hurts the integrity of the shrub. They need iron to be able to pull the nutrients out of the soil, and if they are iron deficient, they can't pull up those resources. So ultimately it causes the plant to suffer, and so I don't want it to suffer. I need to come out here and really do something with it. And I'll show you another red-twigged dogwood that I got at the same exact time that looks healthy. So I'll show you that in just a few minutes as we move down. I've got some back to the fuchsia salvias here, and then though my favorite thing this season, my favorite annual, is this plum dandy. It is just one plant in here. I planted it up early spring, like maybe late spring. I planted it up. Here is our another area. I have the knockout roses, and I love the color of the knockout roses, that they start out like a peachy color. So they start out the coral color, and then they fade to a light pink, but then they really need to be deadheaded because they really look terrible, and I'll show you what they look like when they're totally spent. So here's kind of like a variation. The coral is the first, then it fades to pink, and then it fades to this ugly white shriveled color. So I've already been out here and deadheaded the first flush of blooms, and then now we're working on the second flush. You can see the purple phlox in the background, another rose that is working on it, and then the king tuts here in this big pot with the plum dandy and the, I can't remember the annual salvia that I put in here, but there is a annual salvia, and I don't know if I can show you the purple. There you go. There's the purple flowers that are part of that salvia. I think that it's turned out so great. My husband loves the king tuts. That wispy look of those. He's definitely more of a modern gardener than I am. I am very much cottage style. I like to have a whole bunch of different things. It has to be willy-nilly, just like the hibiscus here, and having some phlox in the background, the string theory and some somnia. And then I have some Veronica here that I planted. I did have yellow yarrow here, but it kept flopping. Like, it was huge and flopping, taking up almost half of the gravel pathway, and I just didn't like it. So I took it out and put these white candles in there instead. Now we're moving on to the black-eyed Susans, and they are sprinkled throughout the garden beds as well. And here you can see that there's some buds coming. Well, this is the Temple of Bloom. I got this also as from Proven Winners. Now, this too was a tiny little, it was only probably about 6 inches tall when I got it. And I got it the fall before we did the retaining wall. So it was fall of 2020 I got this, and I had it in another location, and I even put a protector over it in this particular garden bed that I had, because I was afraid that it was going to be mistaken for a weed, like a volunteer weed tree, and I didn't want it to get whacked. So I have been slowly every year been going in and cutting it down, kind of pruning it to where it would look like a multi-trunk tree. And it is really showing its multi-trunk under there. But I do need to come in and just clean up some of the lower branches and lift the canopy up a little bit so it can continue to get taller. I have some Russian sage in the back there. I have another Chinese aster, and more hibiscus here, along with some salvia. And the penstemon I've already cut down for the season, which makes way for the beautiful limelight hydrangea. Oh, it's just gorgeous. They're doing so great. I planted some more cosmos, pulled them from one location in the veggie garden and pulled them over here. I don't mind if this area self-seeds because I've got a lot of bare area here, because I pulled out some yarrow here as well. And so I don't care if it self-seeds itself like it did in our veggie garden. In fact, if you grab the seed head, so here is what it looks like after the blooms are already done. These are the seeds, so I can just sprinkle them out and they will grow new plants. Kind of a neat way to get annuals to grow in your garden over and over again. So I've got some daylilies that are still popping up and some hibiscus. I think these ones are called the Candy Crush. That is the one I do believe I remember the name of. Got the Zagreb Coreopsis, one of my favorite things because it blooms all season long and there's no need to deadhead because you can't see the spent blooms. It's really great. Yeah, let's not look at the hostas. Hostas always have some kind of powdery mildew in our area, no matter what we do. So I just need to kind of come in and cut it down. It'll bloom for next year and it'll look great. But then as the summer goes on, that's when the powdery mildew happens. I've got a lilac tree here as well. That can really shine when it is spring because the hibiscus haven't started even showing life yet. I've got another one of those Little Devil 9-barks and another North Pole Arbovita. I've got the black-eyed Susans here, and I have a couple roses in here, but they are definitely crowded out as well. They're boscabels, so I'm going to get in there and clean that out. And I'm also going to be taking out that forsythia. I don't like how it performs. It doesn't give me very many flowers, and I just don't want to keep anything in my garden that I don't care for. The agastache is almost done, but because the hummingbirds and the pollinators have been still attracted to it, even though it has very little flowers left, I haven't wanted to come in and short it down yet because of that reason. So I need to do that. The dogwood that I was talking about that had chlorosis, this is the same dogwood that I got at the same time, and it is an Arctic fire, so has the red branches, and they're perfect in the wintertime because they have the red interest, and I can come out and cut some of the branches off. I only do it every other year because I don't want to cause any stress on the plant, but every couple years I'll come out and I'll cut the red twigs and put them in our Christmas flower arrangements. I also have a coral berry right here, and it's getting ready to make the there's like a hornet type thing, so I'm not going to get too close, but this is, I believe it's the cotton candy coral berry, and I did get that one from Proven Winners as well. More black-eyed Susan. This is my weeping blue spruce, and I love it. Now this is going to be relocated. It grow really slowly, so I will be able to take this and I'm going to put it in the tree border that we're creating as well. So we've started working on that. We just haven't been able to complete it. Too many projects and so little time. And then I have some heucheras in here along with some salvia, and then the agastache. I also have some more daylilies left and some grasses there in the back. So this area is really kind of congested, and I need to come in and really kind of like lighten the load here. Some of the areas that are not so looking so good, we just run out of time, is up in our upper deck. So we have stairs that take us up into this upper deck, and we have tarps down to try to kind of kill off any of the grass and weeds, but you know, it's been a few years and we haven't been able to maintain it. So this eventually will be our Zen garden. We're going to do a Japanese garden back here. Those lions from the front are going to replace these brown urns that we have, and then we'll put these brown urns in another location. For now, we are not able to get to that since we need a dolly to be able to lift all those things, and I just don't have the manpower to be able to do that right now. This is a little bit hard for me to get two things. This area definitely needs some attention, but because the mosquitoes are so bad and this is very shady all day, I can't get to it. So I have to wait a little bit longer before I can get there. We're just kind of pan around to our secret garden area. I definitely need to come in here and do some work, which I am planning on my next video being working in this area. So this is the entrance to our secret garden. We've got the bird feeder, which is a camera feeder up there so we can see the birds eating. But then I always flank this area with tomatoes. This is a perfect place for my grandson to be able to pick his own tomatoes. He's 4 years old, but he's known since he was about 2. When they turn red, he can pick them and he can eat them right off the vine, because I don't use anything that is not organic. I don't use any pesticides or anything in there, in those containers. So I really need to come in here and clean this. This is going to be my next project. Then I'm going to be coming in here and just really cleaning it up because it just gets overgrown. I need to trim back the roses. These are beautiful roses. They are called the Above and Beyond climbing roses, and they've already had their blooms for this season. I'll see if I can show you a picture of them when they were in their fullest glory. I also have a bunny living in here, so I just scared it off, but I also need to just come in and clean up the weeds, fix these cushions because the wind takes them. And then I am going to move a Rose of Sharon or get a new tree to put in this corner there. This used to have all arborvitaes, however, they just died. We weren't able to continue keeping them alive a few years ago with the heat indexes being so high, and they just didn't like being transplanted in the middle of summer. So we do need to come back. I just don't know if I'm ever gonna find arborvitaes that are that tall. So we'll just have to come up with a secondary plan. I was thinking about Rose of Sharon's. Basketball court, this is our primary place where our kids, my grandson, plays, and so it is a mess, but it is perfect then rather than being on the grass. So some work in progress is the area over there that has the boxes and all the tools. We don't have a shed right now because we made way for our veggie garden. So the next steps are to get a shed where we have put the pumpkin patch, and all of those tools will go in there, and eventually those beds will be gone. And lastly, here's my veggie garden area. It still has a lot of work in progress. We still need to put the gravel down in the garden areas. We are going to put up a more permanent fence. Right now, this is just to try to keep critters out, although it's not doing a very good job. And we will be putting up a new fence this fall that'll be taller and more sturdy to where they can't get through, which is going to be really good news for my crops next year. Things just look really bad, but we do have a lot of work going on. We're going to put a shed in the back where the pumpkin patch is. I can take you back there. This area is going to go as well next year, maybe this fall, depending on if we can get a shed. But right now we've just turned this area into a pumpkin patch, and this is going to be where the shed is located in the future. Now, beside the veggie area, we do have this area over here, which usually is our area where we bring tools through. I have my hose link, another one over here that I use, but pretty much this is just a mint patch for right now. This is all going to be coming out soon. We do have to get a new retaining wall on this side of the yard. So that's the reason why I haven't really done anything with this section, and I just let things go because it is going to all come out eventually. And so it's just really hard to take care of. But I do have my ferns and my roses over there. And then on the west side of the house really isn't much going on. We have to have the siding replaced because of hailstorm damage. And so that is going to get a whole revamp after the siding is replaced. And then from there, we are going to make some raised beds on that side. It's going to be a really nice space. Probably won't be this year, maybe a 2025 project, but it'll be nice once it's done. We do have a lot of space, as you can see. It's really can be a challenge to take care of everything, but I love what I'm doing, and I am always adding on, and I'm learning along the way as well. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time. Have a great garden day.